It was just enough to squeak it by. It reminded me a lot of the autumn matchup of Nemesis Hydra versus Liberation X. One hit from Win. It looked more like two this time, but still, when you come down to the wire, they're the most exciting games, Rome.
Yeah, I actually think the momentum really shifted to the side of SK. It was that last team fight where I feel like, they should have taken 1 or 2 seconds to really think about how to engage it, how to either to let Kraken deal with it, to wait until Mouse Sports decides to shift all their focus onto that Kraken before jumping in.
Right, absolutely. So history will repeat. Mouse Sports into the semis tomorrow. We will see them on Championship Sunday. SK Gaming, unfortunately, do go home after this loss. So as you can see here, tomorrow, this looks like a little bit of a rematch. Team Secret and Mouse Sports. It's just rematch city here. Because not only does SK Gaming and Mouse Sports in day 1 do stuff, but then they rematch there in day 2. I'm being actually told that they don't actually face each other. So those are just going to be the first 2 sets of opponents for the semis. Now, if we flip over to the other side, it will be Team Secret versus whoever's the top of that one, and Mouse Sports at the bottom of theirs.
Yeah, it's going to be excellent tomorrow. We do come into tomorrow without the blind draft going to the 3rd game, and then on to the final games. It will be a best out of 5.
Right, yeah. So with no blinds in the semis, something that is going to be a bit of a concern maybe is all these all these buff comps, the Adagios, the Kestros, right? Team Secret has said that we will never let you run that against us, and there's no more blind picks after this room.
Yeah, but the thing is, with Team Secret, this actually falls into their advantage due to the fact that, they've been dominating their drafting phase. And I feel like this is something that they have that no other teams have here at this championship event.
Right, yeah, okay. So tomorrow, Secret and Snow will be one of our semis, but we have one more series yet to do here, and that is to determine who else is going to be in that top 4. Now, if you want to talk rematches, though, this is something that we saw a little bit earlier, because yesterday, not G2, it was totally G2. G2 Kinguin up against Team Clytia, and that was a heck of a match. They're about to go head-to-head here for our last series of the day. Jinyi, just give me a little bit of what you think might happen here.
Well, what's happened is G2 and Team Clytia, so they faced each other twice already. Once in the qualifier 2, where Team Clytia were able to knock G2 out, and again yesterday, where Team Clytia won again. So it does feel like that Team Clytia, it does seem to be G2's kryptonite. And G2 didn't seem to be playing up to standard in the past few days, but really in that last series again, they were just doing absolutely fantastic. We saw Redix the Sky, so I think things are certainly looking up for G2 now.
Now, both of these teams, wins, losses. Clytia, though, Rome, do you think them up against Team Snow a little bit earlier has, kind of hurt the morale a bit, or are they going to bounce back?
Well, I feel like, they're going to come into this match, and they specifically do know what to do in drafting up against G2, especially after watching all those games just earlier today.
All right, so G2 Kinguin going to be taking on Clytia. Let's take a quick look at G2 because they have quite the team here. All right, so Redix, Dark Potato, and Dingo. Face has actually been doing some of their interviews for them after the fact as well. I mean, it's a very strong team, but they have been in this position before, Rome. They have faced off up against Clytia, and Clytia won last time.
Yeah, but the thing is, we're looking at the last match that G2 played, I mean, the series, and they've shown that they're very strong. They actually started approaching that early game. They made sure that they were getting a lot more aggression off than they were doing yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. In Redix, I mean, I think he earned a spot at the Highlight Factory for some of that Sky play a little bit earlier on. He just did absolutely fantastic on it.
Yeah, so the thing with Sky here coming to this series is that both teams have a very strong Sky player. And I feel like, either drafting or picking, that Sky is going to be centered around a lot of these compositions that do come out.
As I said this a little bit earlier on, Lance is the man of the patch. It feels like Sky is really taken over Celeste. We did see some Celeste earlier, but it's all been about that mobile CP carry.
Yeah, and they've actually been playing it very well. I do think that, coming into this, one of the teams are going to have to be prepared to, like, you know, either pick up a Taka or pick up somebody that has a crazy gap closing, able to assassinate Sky off very quickly.
All right, so now their opponents are going to be Team Clytia, one of the newer teams here to the top 8. Them and 4 Justice. It's their first time here. It's a very young team. Let's take a quick look at them. Looking sharp in gray. I know I definitely like to rock my grays as well. But Team Clytia, a young team, coming into the top 8s. They looked fairly solid. Did go up against Team Snow earlier here, Jinyi. But now they're up against what you keep telling them. They're the kryptonite of G2.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. G2 is such a strong team. For some reason, Team Clytia is just able to take them down each time. And I think personally, my personal opinion is that because Team Clytia do like the very early game. They are quite aggressive, probably one of the more aggressive teams here. And as Asatar did say himself in the interview, they kind of do lose focus in the late game. And that is the point where G2 excels. So all G2 need to do is just be very super defensive and just don't scasser, because that is what we're seeing in the last game. So, as I was saying, Team Clytia, they had a very, very disappointing loss against Snow earlier. Quite a shocking loss, actually. You know,
perfect game.
Perfect game, yeah. You know, this was not the Clytia we know, and I think there's a lot to be learned there from those games there for both Clytia and G2.
Well, we'll have to see if any learning was done. Hopefully their morale is high. Yesterday, if you weren't here or watching, these were the slug matches, Rome. These guys went 25 to 31 minutes in each of the games.
Yeah, and if the thing is, like, although Clytia did have a little bit of bad luck, they had pitted up against Team Snow, who I feel had an advantage in a lot of the things that Clytia do have their weaknesses in. However, going up against G2, they do have a couple of advantages. And like Shinyi just mentioned, that is that early game focus, that is that early game aggression that really tries to depict, like, you know, the pace on how you do your rotations. But G2, after their last series, they seem to have really gotten focused on this, making sure that they do cover their weaknesses.
Yeah, this is where they need to kind of rewrite history. So just before we get into our last series of the day, ladies and gentlemen, one more giveaway for you guys here. Use the hashtag Vainglory Live in our Twitch chat. At the end of this series, a lucky entry will go home with 2,000 ice to be applied to their Vainglory account. So best of luck on that one. And if you are in Twitch, but you're also on Twitter or Facebook, send us pictures. Show us how you are enjoying the tournament. And also use the hashtag Vainglory Live. You'll be put into a raffle for an iPad Air 2 by the end of tomorrow on Championship Sundays. So you can go home with a little bit of loot and watch some fantastic Vainglory, all thanks to Super Evil Megacorp. That out of the way, let's get game series number 6 going, because Team Clytia and G2, I can just tell that they're itching to go at it. G2 needs to rewrite history. Clytia's going to try to go for that 3-0, as these guys have clashed before.
And, you know, you see right here, Clytia taking that Sky out of that picture. And this really starts the pace here. What kind of composition will G2 Kinguin be running?
Well, we've been seeing a lot of buff with the Adagio into things like Kestrels. We've seen Ronas. Kestrels, the thought right now from Clytia, Jinyi.
I quite like that, because we've seen it, what we've seen particularly much is that buff Adagio Kestrel combination, and by taking the Kestrel away from them, it does narrow the kind of variety that we'll be seeing coming out from G2 here.
Well, I believe we've seen a Ringo. Weapon Vox has been making some appearances. Glaive, however, is definitely a stronger choice, I feel. Could they go for the Celeste? And it looks like that's going to be solidified. So thoughts on G2 here, Rom?
So there's a couple options here. Like, you can run the Adagio as a carry and do a roam Glaive.
Right.
That works out very well, because Glaive can commit himself being very tanky, and then he doesn't mind getting trapped into that Korkala, the camo coming out of Kestrel.
Okay, so last pick. What do you think here for Clytia? 5 seconds or thinking Taka?
I actually wouldn't be picking the Taka here. I do feel like Taka jumping in, getting that peel coming out of the Glaive will pay heavily for them.
All right, well, we'll have to see if Celeste will fall or if Clytia can take the kills. It will be back into the fold here with Sona and Excoundrel.
Thank you very much, Forecourt. And we have had to just calm down after the last series, but now we're taking it with a fresh start. Me and Sona here to cast the final series of the day. It's going to be G2 versus Team Clytia. I know you're still recovering, but we do have to get on because this is going to be hopefully just as exciting. We know that Team Clytia have what it takes to go toe-to-toe with G2. They knocked them out into the elimination bracket yesterday.
Definitely.
So honestly, this is going to be super exciting, and we're going to see a Celeste. I love Celeste.
Yeah, G2 have found their kryptonite in Clytia, and they are going to face them up once again in this best of 3 on the Halcyon Fold. We're here into game 1. Redix on the Celeste, Adagio for Dingo. You've got that buff comp once again. Glaive is going to be their jungler.
Yeah, so this is an interesting take. I don't think we're going to see as much of a significant buff comp because it's going to be a roaming Adagio. He may have a slightly lower golden comp. It may be more utility. Now, what this provides is that Verse of Judgment, if you don't build a Crucible for it, it gives a good area of control for Celeste to be safe in. The enemy team won't be able to move their way through Verse of Judgment unless they have reflex blocks or Crucibles to their favor. This means that Celeste is going to give them the time and space that she needs to deal damage from the backline. I'm just worried about potentially who's going to be there to peel apart from Verse of Judgment. Once that Crucible is there for Team Clytia, who's going to be peeling for Celeste?
I mean, Dark Potato's there with the Afterburn. You've got Core Collapse as well. As if you can get a good burst into a Solar Storm, you don't really need the peel because the enemy team's already dead. But Redix needs some peel at the moment. He's going to have John X, which I'm just going to call him John from now on, jumping all over his face with that Kai'Sa.
Did this during the qualifying. It's just John. We just call him John. Interestingly enough, I do think the composition from Clytia is kind of interesting. Obviously, we know that Taka, he looks like potentially playing weapon build Taka, but he should be able to deal with Celeste given enough time. It really depends. I think he's going to need an early reflex block, especially post 6. Doesn't want to get caught out by that Verse of Judgment. If he uses that block to the Verse of Judgment, then maybe he's going to have what it takes to take out Celeste ASAP. They're just going to have a normal Kestrel, so it's not going to be a buffed Kestrel. So we're not going to see the huge amounts of damage that her Poke can do, but we know as a Crystal Power, she can have that kind of damage output. Already getting a fight.
Already jumping in onto Asita, and he will get taken out for first blood. G2 showing their mettle early on in this game. Dark Energy's going to get stunned up as well. Will he be able to escape this? Buffing Dark Potato, it's Dark v Dark, and the Potato wins. More used to the Dark, of course, because it grows underground. Potato's always going to beat Dark Energy.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Let's just say that Potatoes beat Energy 9 times out of 10. I'll just run with that.
Microwave.
That is a Sona certified fact.
To Potato.
So if you have a Potato versus any form of energy, you can throw a Potato at the sun and the sun will lose.
Yeah.
That's just how...
You just need a big potato, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, Dark Potato doing a great bit of early work here for his team. He's going to be 2-0. That's going to give him a nice boost. He's gone for 3 weapon blades, so he is going to be essentially doing a huge amount of damage. It works a little bit like the 3 crystal bits.
Yeah.
He'll then upgrade, looking towards, I guess, Heavy Steel 6 Sins, then go towards Sorrow Blade, as we expect on something like a Glaive.
Definitely.
These are very interesting compositions, though. It's not something that we've seen during the European Championships so far. I am worried for G2, especially if the Crucible comes out, how safe Celeste is going to be. But like you said, they have different forms of peel. You do have the Core Collapse, you do have the Afterburn. You obviously can't block everything. It's going to be about which way they sort of queue these up.
Definitely. Interesting with the Adagio roam, something we haven't seen yet, which is a really surprising pick, because Adagio is such a strong hero just generally. You've still got the Arden available for the roam slots, so you could always pick that if you wanted to and just play Adagio as part of that buff comp.
Yeah, interesting that I haven't seen a roam Adagio for a very long time, because obviously he does so well with a good gold input, goes towards things, you know, obviously like alternating current and broken myth, and the damage output is very, very good. But obviously you have a Celeste, you don't necessarily need to rely on Adagio for damage output, and then you have the Glaive, who I imagine after getting Sorrow Blade, he'll likely then move towards a more tank role and just be providing peel as much as possible. Sometimes even in the roam position we saw things like cooldown reduction Glaive, where you're just literally there to get Afterburn off cooldown as quickly as possible, because you're essentially trying to keep a singular target alive with those Afterburns.
G2 Kinguin have taken the early advantage here, 2 kills up, only ever so slightly ahead on the gold lead anyway. Across the board, it's pretty darn even. What are you pointing at? Aftershock
on John, I think, is going to be the point of call here for the Takas. We have seen this before. The Aftershock Taka, it's crystal power. You on-hit effect, you try and do a lot of burst damage in a singular go. It kind of makes sense in this situation. It's going to be straight-up weapon power. I think looks like Dark Energy may be moving towards, well, he's got various options. Maybe likely going to be the Sorrow Blade, though. Picked up the Book of Eulogies for sustain, then obviously has has that revolver just to have the increased attack speed. Reddick's going to get locked up here.
Get rooted, and Asus is going to try and keep putting some pressure down. There has been a kill across towards the other side of the map as Glaive takes down that Crystal attacker. Dark Potato showing his stuff once again. Doesn't only have to take down Dark Energy, can also take down the rest of his team.
Exactly. John, also weak to potatoes. So sorry anybody out there called John, you probably shouldn't eat potatoes. They will.
Gluten intolerant.
Potatoes don't have gluten in them.
But
you're a doctor. Potatoes don't have gluten. I'm not even going to go any further with this. But Reddick's, yeah, so he's going to be on Celeste. He has the positional awareness to make this work, but won't be as mobile as we saw him on Sky. It looks like the Kestrel was working out in terms of the heavy push onto this tier 1 turret right now. It's put a lot of pressure on. That's almost gone down. Dark Potato taking a lot of damage here. Kestrel going to force the majority of G2 away. And it's just, again, the only person really having picked up much of an early lead here is Dark Potato, and nothing else really coming of it. 200 gold, the difference right now.
But we can see the strength there of Team Clytia. The turret goes down, Dark Energy's been able to push that in pretty strongly already. And if you get a good Githian wall or a good Impale, you've just got Glimmer Shot after Glimmer Shot after Glimmer Shot, and it's just damage raining down onto G2 Kinguin. They've got a good composition to win out these fights if they play them properly.
Reddick's has spent a lot of time outside of lane, and that has allowed the majority of Team Clytia to push, or rather just Kestrel, push that lane in very significantly and push onto that tier 1 turret very, very quickly. It's, I think it's odd because obviously we know that Celeste, using the Heliogenesis, has got pretty decent wave clear, but she does struggle with energy regen in the early game. So obviously just Kestrel able to push her out significantly, obviously the energy being used up in trying to clear the waves, and they do come away with a tier 1 turret. This tier 1 turret is going to allow the rest of Team Clytia, should they so choose, to now effectively push into the at least front camps of G2. They won't have to worry about them retreating towards that tier 1 turret because it has disappeared. So they can look for fights, they can push into the front camps of the G2 jungle and look to do what we saw Mousesports do in the previous game and just try and strangle out the gold income for G2, because they do need a good gold income on Celeste.
Especially when you have a Tucker, it's vitally important that you get that
Storm.
first turret. Solar Storm is going to hit onto Dark Energy, which is a great target. There's a little bit of healing coming out there. He's going to get after Burn Stun. The Fountain is out, and now the Gold Mine, the target, one shot, one kill, hits onto Dingo. The Gold Mine goes over to G2, and they will be very happy with that. They take down John as well. That Tacker Aftershock not doing much for him at all, apart from the fact he might be shocked after his early demise in that fight. And now they're going to go towards Dark Energy as well. He's trying to dodge his way around, does get the stun onto Dark Potato, but no more. He has been mashed up and eaten for dinner by this G2 team.
And this seems a very similar situation than we saw with Mousesports and SK. That gold mine, unfortunately, proving a pretty tricky foe for Team Clytia to try and secure, and obviously then does go over to G2. So they come away with 2 kills and the gold mine, another big swing. They're going to extend that gold lead now to 1K. Let's just take stock of the items once more here. Looks like Reddick's, he may be going for a Shatterglass potentially straight away. Has picked up that Eclipse Prism and the Heavy Prism, so maybe likely going down that route. We have the Sorrow Blade there for Dark Potato. He's not done yet, though. He's also picked up some more weapon power items, the Revolver and the Weapon Blade there. That Weapon Blade has been there since the start, however, because he did pick up 3 at the very beginning. Fountain completed for Dingo. Just looks like a classic roam Adagio, going to be filling that roam position, playing the support items, not going to be going a more greedy build of his own alternating current. Aftershock, and looks like more crystal power here for Dark Energy. 1 shot, 1 kill, not going to have a huge effect. There's a Solar Storm, and he'll be able to back away. So yeah, it looks like some pretty standard items coming out so far. Nothing that's particularly rocking the boat. Maybe we're a little bit different seeing something like a Shatterglass on Reddick's. We haven't seen many Celeste go Shatterglass first this entire tournament.
It just shows how confident he is with his team. We talked about the ability of Team Clytia to be able to stun him up. He's so confident, he doesn't need to build any sustain, doesn't need to build any tankiness at all. He can go straight for the full crystal power, and it's just going to be there at the back of the fight, pounding away with his Heliogenesis. And it's a really strong build here from G2 Kinguin. I think he's probably going to go towards an Eve of Harvest next, have a little bit of sustain, maybe a Broken Myth.
Maybe. I mean, that battery, I think, has been there since the start.
Yeah, you get a battery first.
Yeah, most Celeste start battery, like I said, because they have a pretty poor energy use in the laning phase, and they want to be able to clear waves. This Shatterglass is going to allow her to clear waves more effectively. effectively. Like, this is probably why she's picked it up, because this means she doesn't need to build stacks before she's having a huge impact with the Heliogenicide. She can just start spamming them and clear waves and deal immediate damage. That's the difference between Broken Myth and Shatterglass. Shatterglass allows you to have an immediate impact, but in the elongated fights and in poke wars, sometimes having the Broken Myth actually comes out on top.
Yeah, most definitely. And I really don't like Crystal Power Taka. We've seen it a lot throughout this entire tournament, and it's never really worked out for the team. Dark Energy taking a couple of Heliogenesis to the face, and now they're going to try and jump in, but John is so low already. The burst is huge. The Solar Storm across the team. Dingo's going to go low, though. He is only the roam, remember, on that Adagio. Will heal himself up a little bit with the Gift of Fire, and they should be able to back away from this one. Redix very, very low on energy. Dingo's here to try and help him out, but Dark Potato comes in from the backside, and energy goes down, and now it's just Asita left alone. G2 are unbeatable at the moment. They should be able to pick up Asita if they've got the afterburn. Decides Against It doesn't have the energy for it, and they do just pick up 2 kills.
So the real key thing to note there, in fact, there was a couple of things. The Glyphium Wool knocked Celeste out of 1-shot 1-kill. And you're also right, the Crystal Power Taka, if you don't get an immediate effect, you do rely on basically getting your skills off cooldown again before you can have that effect. So you need to burst someone out. I think the idea here is you have Lance Impale, you get 1-shot 1-kill lined up with the Impale, and then you use the Crystal Taka to try and burst out Celeste.
Which makes perfect sense.
It makes perfect sense, but it's very hard to pull off. In a lot of situations, it's not. In the real world, it's just not going to work like that. And like you saw there, the Glyphium Wall actually saved Redix's life.
I mean, the thing is, though, we're not in the real world. We're on the Halcyon Fold, and Team Clytia.
The Halcyon, yeah. You said it right, my bad.
I did.
But also I want to pick up on something I mentioned right at the start of the game, that Verse of Judgment sealed the fight right there. Without the Crucible, it's so difficult to navigate your way around such an impactful ability.
Yeah, most definitely. It's going to be the second gold mine here for G2. They'll pick themselves up a little bit of gold, an immense payout, and X-John XX being pushed again into that wall. But here comes Asita, he's going to root up too. The Glyphian wall does knock Dark Potato back, but the Solar Storm is massive. Asita goes low, Dark Energy is low, pops the reflex block to stop that afterburn. Asita will not survive for long. It's 9-0 for G2 Kinguin.
So Lance loves to fight in these kind of like choke points because he can get something like an Impale off. But do you know who else likes fighting in choke points? Celeste, because of the Solar Storm. It makes it very easy to hit multiple targets, and you saw right there, huge damage. John, this Crystal Taka, I mean, Taka has not had a good win rate this EU Championship. I think we've seen 1 Taka game win, and that's it. Yeah. I think Taka's been played maybe 5 times now, 4 times, and I think he's got less than a 20%, 25% win ratio. He's not been effective, and we haven't seen a lot of what we saw in North America, which is Taka being played weapon power, or even tank. We sometimes saw tank build come out from someone called I Love Joseph. He picked up a lot of tank Taka and was playing him as more of a attempt to be a threat, and then more utility-based in the later stages. But it's just looking good for G2 right now. They can't burst out Redix quick enough. They don't have the damage. They're not comboing, I think, what they intended to do. It's, like I said, very hard to pull that off. Yeah,
most definitely. And G2 Kinguin, let's have a quick look at their items at the moment. 30 minutes, and actually Dark Potato is going to start a fight here.
Wow.
Energy pops the reflex block with the active camera, but they're going to turn onto him. Look at the damage from Dark Potato. Burst comes out as well. Asita goes down. Solar Storm is used, and John is a fox in a box. Might be able to get away from this one. Dark Potato is on the chase. Will spot him out. They've pinged him so they know where he is. He stuns into the wall.
Goodbye, John.
And John, say goodbye to the Halcyon Fold. They pick up an ace. They are ridiculous as a team, especially since Team Clytia have been their booby trap team up until now. G2 Kinguin look like they're on their way to the semis.
Absolutely. Now, I want to point out something that has actually been bugging me for a little while. Because there's no Crucible and John has not picked up a reflex block, the only 2 people that are realistically going to get impacted by Verse of Judgment is going to be John and Asita. Those are the 2 people that are likely going to be the ones taking that Verse of Judgment. Dark Energy is never really going to be in range of it. So I would have liked to have seen John pick up a reflex block more quickly, but it looks like he's trying to focus down towards that Broken Myth. And you can see by the itemization choices of both John and Dark Energy, they are playing for elongated teamfights. They know they're not going to win in a burst, burst.
One shot, one kill does burst. Redix quite low though. Here comes the engage. Redix low, but is still alive on the backline, and now he can start to dampen the damage.
Solar Storm.
Solar Storm says goodbye to Dark Energy. Perhaps the Sun can kill something dark, but it's not a potato. The Sun has killed the Energy, and now 15-0 G2 Kinguin. Looking amazing in this game.
Like you see, a completely perfect game. This is something that Team Clytia unfortunately fell fate to for G2 earlier on in the tournament, and it looks like it's going to happen once more. G2 just looking incredible. They're looking to book their place in the semi-final also. It'll be a very stacked lineup should G2 win tomorrow. It'll be Snow, Tsunami, it would be Team Secret, it would just be the recently qualified Mouse Sports, and then it would be G2, a pretty stacked top four. But obviously, not over yet. G2 have to win this game, and they have to win one more to secure that place in the semi-finals, and there is a lot of things that can happen between now and then. Look at Mouse Sports. They lost the first game, and then they brought it back in an absolutely thrilling reverse sweep.
Yeah.
Team Clytia can do the same, but I think they just need to drop this Taka. It's not working for them. That you can see, he's going in, he's trying to burst. I understand the aftershock. I think he wants the cooldown reduction to make sure that those skills come off, but he's backing out once he goes for that first burst. He's looking to, I think, reset those cooldowns and come back in.
Yeah.
It's just not happening quick enough. The burst from G2 is higher, and that's why I think you're seeing them go for these elongated team fight items, because they're saying, okay, we're just going to lose to the burst of G2. We're not actually going to win in the burst fight. We have to somehow kite backwards and try and use team fight presence in terms of stretching out with our breaking point, and hopefully the broken myth once it's finished for John.
It's going to be Kraken here secured for G2. One shot, one kill was already used and just helped them out. And you have to think 15-minute Kraken, 15-0 the kill scoreline, 6,000 gold the lead. G2 are unstoppable in this game, and Dark Energy once again gets caught out. It's just Dark Potato all by himself here. Doesn't need the rest of his team to put the damage down, and they're going to push up towards the turret. Kraken not quite joined them yet, but will be in just a couple of seconds as they try and break the base of Team Clytia.
Absolutely, one shot, one kill comes out. G2 Redix takes the brunt of it here, but he's not going to be too bothered. He gets rooted up here.
Lithium Wall just back away from the turret though. They don't mind being there. The Kraken's coming in, the turret's gonna fall, and now they can focus Dark Energy, who's been stunned. Does pop the Ecto Camo though. Dingo trying to position for the burst. Now we see Redix getting pushed back. Dingo's very low, but there's the burst. Solar Storm comes out, doesn't quite connect, and Redix is just gonna focus the turret. John is there as well. Dingo and Dark Potato trying to push off towards the side of this fight. The Kraken will take down this first turret, and G2 are gonna say, that's enough for now, we'll just back away, and then push again in a minute.
Yeah, Redix running out of energy quickly in this scenario. They are going to back off here. And honestly, G2, they are just looking to maintain their perfect record now. They don't want to take any risks. There's no point giving the opportunity for Team Clytia to come back into it. We saw how devastating a comeback can be in the last game between SK and Mouse Sports, and G2 are learning from that. They don't want to take any risks when finishing the game. They know that they are well and truly ahead at this point in time, and there's very little, I think, that Team Clytia can do to clinch their way back in. Maybe once that broken myth is completed, maybe we potentially see something happen here. It looks like is that a rabbit's foot in Dark Energy?
Yes,
so he's got a singular critical strike that can potentially be maybe useful, but I doubt it at this stage in the game. Let's have a look at infusions as well. Infusions have been procced, obviously, by Dark Potato and Dingo. That was used when they were trying to secure that Barra.
Redix has one in his inventory as well.
Secure that Kraken. And then also, no infusions yet. No infusions yet for this side of Team Clytia. I don't think they have the gold right now to invest in infusions, but they will just get beaten out by the superior team fight presence that infusions give you, and G2 are just flushed with gold right now.
It does look like John has got that crystal infusion on, so we'll be able to try and get that extra damage down, but he's not been the deciding factor in any of these fights. He's so far behind. He's sitting on 60 farm as opposed to the 91 on Dark Potato. They're going to lose their minion mine as well, so those minions are going to be even stronger, pushing towards their base, pushing towards those final 2 Vayne turrets. And at the moment, you have to think Team Clytia have no way back into it. They're less behind than SK Gaming were, but if you look at the scoreline and morally, they're going to feel so far behind.
Still no Crucible, still no Reflex block for John. It's just going to make negotiating that Verse of Judgment very, very risky for Asita and John in this situation. Dark Energy has got a full Aegis at this point in time. Dark Potato now. Asta's going to be combat rolling away. Looks like Dingo feels pretty comfortable now to head towards what looks to be a Shatter Glass. He's going to go that full Crystal Power. So, oh, we're going to have an engage here.
To Redix. It's actually a really good fight here. The burst comes out and will stun them up. Solar Storm being used here by Redix, but Dark Energy might take down one. It's a good fight here for the side of Team Clytia. Dark Potato tanks up the one-shot, one-kill. They're going to try and turn onto Dingo, but not quite able to get the knock into the wall. Dark Energy's been stunned, but Clytia coming back into this fight. This is the day of comebacks. This is the game of comebacks, and Dingo is going to get rooted. Dark Energy picks up the kill, and Team Clytia turn it around.
That was just a really, really nice engage by Asta there. I think actually the majority of that was actually G2's fault. They pushed all of their backline up towards basically poor vision control and allowed themselves to get rooted by Asta. That hasn't happened before in these team fights. Going to lose that perfect game record, but they're certainly not a fullback. You can see the Verse of Judgment being channeled here, but it didn't
Dark Energy blocks it as well.
Yeah,
it's reflex.
Didn't exactly have the impact. Also, something I forgot to mention that has actually been fairly big is obviously Taka can actually dodge Verse of Judgment with his A ability, yes. So, but obviously you want to be using that realistically to get on top of your target. It's actually something I talked about yesterday when I was doing the casting with you, that if you're going to use Taka as someone who doesn't need a reflex block and just rely on your A ability to dodge any form of CC, then you are going to be limiting potentially the routes that you have to use it in terms of a gap closing ability. It's why I do like personally to see something like a reflex block on attacker, because it gives you multiple options when looking to engage on a specific target. You know, it gives you options when using your gap closing.
One shot, one kill onto Dingo. Not quite the target they wanted. A double stun though onto Dark Potato and Redix. There goes the jump. They're going to try and start the fight. Dark Potato tanking up a lot of glimmer shots. John is low, off towards the back. The Heliogenesis are coming out. The Solar Storm hits up a bunch. There's the burst. They're going to jump back in onto Redix, but he's still alive, and G2 are still alive in this fight. Now John, the target, G2 managed to show their stuff. The scoreboard reflects the kills, 18-2, and they're going to get the Kraken.
So you can see what happens here with John specifically. He's using his ability to jump in, and he's using it at just at random times to reposition. That's great as attacker. You want to be able to reposition as much, and you have the cooldown reduction so you can attempt to spam it. Kraken has been unleashed. But the issue is that you're always going to be holding it for the time when you see a Verse of Judgment. That's going to limit your ability to become mobile during a team fight, and I think that is biting John in the backside just a little bit. Obviously, I don't see many attackers go for a reflex block just for that specific reason, but I do like to have it because it provides you options. You sometimes prefer the ability to gap close rather than the ability to dodge CC.
Dark Energy going to try and escape. He does pop the reflex block, doesn't get knocked back, and Dark Potato will not be able to take him down. One shot, one kill is channeled. Dingo goes low. The Kraken's still up. Dark Potato might go down before the fight really starts here. John X trying to get back into the fight. Dark Potato low, but Asita low as well. The Solar Storm comes out, and John is almost down. He does just about survive for another second, but will get taken out. Redix is down,
look
but
at that.
it's Dark Energy and Asita. Burst comes out. They're not quite able to pick up the kill, but the Kraken is down to the last Vayne turret. What can Dark Energy and Asita do? The answer is probably not much, as Dark Potato and Dingo are going to take the Vayne, they're going to take the Crystal, they're going to take the first game of this best of 3, and they're going to take the win.
G2 ending a game after what must have felt like an age for them, given how far they were ahead. And yet, so honestly, I'm going to call this Taka build guerrilla warfare, right? This is guerrilla warfare Taka build, because essentially you jump in, you deal the damage, you run out, you wait for your cooldowns, you jump in, you do the damage and jump out. Honestly, though, I just think that they didn't really have the ability to burst out the Celeste. They were looking essentially for that combo I said right at the start of the game. You try and get Lance to impale the Celeste. You try and burst him down with John. Then John will renegotiate using his stealth, and then look to come back in once he has those cooldowns up. And then all the meantime, you have Kestrel attempting to essentially do the remainder of the damage needed. The issue was that also Dark Potato got really fed. Dark Potato was 3-0 within the first 4 minutes. That meant that he was a significant enough threat to Kestrel so that she couldn't actually follow up on the damage. Even if they managed to catch out Celeste, she was always put in an awkward position where she had to choose between taking a lot of damage from the glaive or trying to do what she was supposed to do, which is finish up a catch that the Lance provides. So anyway, that was a really exciting first game. I want to see what the analysts make of it. Let's hand it over to them.
Well, I don't know if we're on day 1 or day 2, but G2 actually now repeats history again. They get a very good, solid game, an excellently solid game, I gotta say. I mean, it took 19 minutes for Clytia to put a point on the board, Jinyi.
Well, at least it wasn't a perfect game there for G2, so I think that might make Team Clytia feel a little bit better. And I think in the last game, it was a combination of G2 having a very nice winning mentality after that excellent win against Gangstars. And then also on the side of Team Clytia, I think they were also kind of hit a bit heavily after the very, very disappointing loss against Snow Tsunami earlier.
Yeah, and I asked you about that a little bit earlier, Rome. Do you think now, devastating loss there, it took them so long to even get a kill onto this one, but even then, it felt very much like kind of a repeat game.
Yeah, you know, there was actually two things to this. Starting with the draft, I do feel like G2 they came into the draft with a big advantage, especially with the Taka pickup on the side of Team Clytia. Like, Taka had no impact within these team fights. Even the itemization wasn't helping them out too much. And then onto the second thing is, G2 did an excellent job controlling the early game, and this was something that we didn't see too much from them yesterday. And coming to this one, they really made sure the rotations were on point. They were being very aggressive. They were trying to take farmers wherever they could.
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of talk about the Crystal Takas. Eve Taka, we've now seen Broken Myth Taka, all of them running Aftershocks. There's been very mixed kind of feelings up in the player area about these builds coming into it. And again, like, Battle Royale, give me a Crystal Taka, but it's just not hitting the mark here on the Fold.
And that's exactly the role of Taka. Taka is supposed to be that assassin, and you know, by picking Taka up, they really want to burst down the Celeste very easily, but you have to deal with the afterburn coming out of Glaive, you have to deal with the slow and the heal coming out of Adagio, and it's betting too much onto one basket just to try and take out one hero.
It felt like that almost since minute one. Glaive was making the plays. He was coming up for the ganks, he was controlling with the afterburn, he was keeping Kestro at bay. Overall, Jinyi, I mean, I think that Glaive pick was probably the deadliest one on the board.
Yeah, I think it was a really good pick, especially because we did have a Kessler on attacker coming out from Team Clytia. And the thing about those two heroes is that they are very vulnerable and they're very squishy. And Glaive does have the ability to afterburn. He can afterburn them, reposition them, and just put them in a position, especially with that Celeste there, to core collapse.
Yeah, absolutely. So the double stuns, it didn't quite go with an Ardent, but that is definitely a combo that we've seen before as well. So, Rome, talk to me here. It's game 2. Yesterday, what we saw, it was a tie game. Does G2 have it in them for a 2-0?
Right now, it's looking like G2 does have it in them. And I'm thinking on the side of Team Clytia, I do want to see a composition coming out of them that really synergizes their kits across the board. We didn't see that last game. Last game, it seemed like, you know, you do have Kestrel, you have a lot of poke coming on that, you have Taka, who's great at jumping into these team fights, but how well did these two work together? And it just wasn't being seen. Combine that with the addition of Lance, who's like more of a solo roamer, who can make huge plays, who can stall a lot of time, but he doesn't sync up with the team very well.
All right, so game number 2, we're going to have to see if #Rome is right, but the draft here is just moments away. G2 fighting for tournament life. They're on match point, but it's up to Clytia now to pull out all the stops, Jinyi. No Adagio, no Sky.
I really like the Sky ban coming out from G2 because if they hadn't banned it, it does leave Team Clytia open to pick it up, and we all know that Dark Energy's favorite hero is that Sky.
See, that's like a two-edged sword. It's just like, all right, I'm a great Sky if I get Sky Wreck Face. And if I don't, like, what do I do? It's kind of been working both ways for him.
Yeah, and they did actually really well in the previous matchup with G2, even without that Sky. But I think in that blind pick, the Sky really was pivotal. So there are still a few options left for Team Clytia. However, the biggest question here is their mentality.
I think the biggest question is, why is there an Ardent first pick, Rome?
Yeah, I would have felt like, you know, Team Clytia, they did extremely well with the Celeste. And given this Celeste, you're looking at Redx, who has been playing a lot of Celeste, has been playing a lot of Sky. And with this thing open now, what kind of composition will G2 Kinguin be able to pick up?
Well, it looks like a Black Feather, and I know they keep hovering the pedal, but that's not something that we've seen today.
That's something, especially, I wouldn't pick Petal up very early, given the fact that G2 does get that last pick. And if they want to really surprise someone, that's the best time to do it.
Right, yeah, this definitely feels a little bit more solid with that Lance. So Lance and Ardent on the flips, but there's no Sky or Adagio this round. That is leaving us a little bit bare here for Crystal Carry. Celeste is going to come to mind. Do you think it will be a Celeste here for Clytia?
Well, with the Kestro, actually, on the side of Clytia, would be a great counter, given the fact that G2 already picked up that Black Feather. And it actually enables them to, you know, find a composition that they can really defend themselves on. Great kiting coming out of them.
So what would be the composition? What would be this last pick?
I'd pick up a Glaive just to make sure that I do have that early game. I will try and put as much pressure onto the side of G2 Kinguin as possible. And this is something that Team Clytia has been doing the last yesterday.
So use the afterburn, take control of the first early game?
Yeah, you know, you just rotate out to lane once, try to make some play, and then, you know, transition down to that jungle.
Well, it's going to be that Rhyme instead. Clytia, I think, is the only team to bring out Rhyme here this tournament, isn't you?
Yeah, and they played it with Lance yesterday, which actually synergized really well because they were using very clever choke points here. However, this does leave G2 Kinguin open to take a ranged hero to counter that.
And there she is. That's Celeste coming out once more. Skyban, Celeste reigning supreme. We'll have to see if Rhyme is enough to bring Clytia to match point, or if we're going to be rewriting history and G2 will move on to bring us all the action once more. It'll be Sona and Scoundrel.
You Jester, but it's getting a bit chilly in here. Rhyme has entered the Halcyon fold, and it's the first Rhyme we've seen of the EU Championship. Sona, I
saw one yesterday, actually.
Oh, did we actually? Oh, okay, I was asleep. But anyway, I'm excited. I'm
very excited.
This is potentially the last game of the day before we secure all of our semi-finalists. We're going to see a Rhyme picked up, which is super cool. I haven't seen one. Well, I think I've seen maybe 3 or 4 throughout the last 3 or 4 months of competitive play. Let's see how it works out. Traditionally very good against melee-heavy compositions, but Blackfeather doesn't really fit into that category because of how mobile he is. He can negotiate his way around you know, sort of the poke and the anti-melee kind of abilities that Rhyme bring to the table. So we'll have to see how this one works out. We're going to see a lane. We're going to see a lane Blackfeather, and we're going to have Dark Potato running that Celeste in the jungle here. So we're going to be funneling the farm onto the guy that's supposed to deal with the carry here.
Yeah. It's quite interesting, actually, because obviously Redix played the Celeste in the last game, so just showing how utilizing all of the different heroes and all the different roles is one of the main aspects of Vainglory. Now, I am feeling the rhythm, I am feeling the Rhyme. Come on up, it's Vainglory time for both of these two teams. Dingo's going to have to back away a little bit here from Assetto because the rest of Team Clytia are just around the corner.
That made literally no sense. That was
it's
like...
feel the rhythm, feel the Rhyme. No, Come on now, it's bobsled time. Feel the rhythm, I can feel the Rhyme who's in the game.
Yeah,
Come on up, it's Vainglory time.
I get where you're going with it, just, you know.
Cool Runnings, one of the best movies
is a great movie
in the history of movies. Really.
Anyway, let's focus on the game. Team Clytia are running that Rhyme. Do they have the rhythm to win this game, though? Because they're definitely going to have to play to the dance of to the beat of G2. Yeah. Sona did, unfortunately, just make a rude signal at me for using his pun. I apologize.
Anyway, Team Clytia trying to push into the enemy jungle. Redix trying to take away those camps as much as he can. It's important to try and steal away what you can, especially when your team's being invaded as well. Rhyme so strong as you have these sort of skirmishes, as you said. Winter Spire is incredible if you use it properly, and John will actually steal away that middle camp.
Dark Potato going to come through here. Can Dingo make something happen with the Impale? He's been holding off on it so far. Not going to be able to capitalize here. Dark Potato just wanting to back off. So they're going to lose a couple of their front camps in this situation, so it's going to be a win for Team Clytia in the early portion of this jungle. Redix also feeling the pain of those glimmer shots in lane. This is something that we saw previously as well between Mousesports and SK, and the Blackfeather ended up coming away with literally no gold income, very, very starved of gold. Assetto and John, now they want to make something happen in the jungle.
Yeah, they need to try and get a Winter Spire or something on to this G2 lineup. There's the Winter Spire across from the side. Dark Energy's joining them up as well if they want to go for this fight. Now they're going to try and jump into Dark Potato, but a good Glythian War. Now they're going to see if they can get the damage down. Dark Potato retreating as much as he can, will just about be able to get away. They do lose a couple of their jungle camps, but they don't lose out the kill. Assetto, one more dank poke will be enough. Not quite able to get onto it. Dank poke.
Did you mix up dank, shank, and joke poke?
Yeah, I mixed up.
Vedius would
it would have been a dab stab.
Vedius would be very upset with you. The dank shank from Saw, you just can't bring that into Lance's kit, my friend.
I'm sorry.
Redix wants to make something happen with John here, but without that Rose offensive, I think he's going to have to be careful. He's going to try and take away some of these back camps. Very sneaky play. Sneaky sausage, as Jackson would say. But I think they know this is happening.
Yeah, it needs to be careful because John and Assetto are just around the corner. Vanguard will come out. There's the Winter Spire as well. The route onto Redix with the chill winds, and Redix is going to struggle to get away from this one. Does have his feint up in just a second. Can he dodge around? Dark Energy off towards the side. No, Redix is a goner, and it's first blood for Team Clytia.
It's not too bad though, because he did actually come away with those back camps, and there is this theory that if you do take back camps away from the enemy team and you pay for it with your life, actually the overall gold income is in your favor. It looks like Asita and John, though, want to return with some back camps of their own, but Dark Potato is going to pick up the last of them here.
Oh.
Actually going to catch Asita out, but he does get a Vanguard across the wall.
Vanguard across the wall. Nice awareness there from John to position for it, knowing that his roam at night might need a little bit of support.
Absolutely. So John and Asita, the rest of the team, going to move towards their own side jungle. Reddick's now going to start to farm up, having taken away those back camps. Won't be too bothered with his death in the early game. The death timers mean that he'll be very readily able to make his way back to lane, start building towards what most Black Feathers seem to be building, which is that breaking point first. So just going for that Serpent's Mask. Obviously with the Book of Eulogies, he could still go for the Serpent's Mask, but we will have to wait and see if that is the case. I haven't seen any Black Feathers, I think apart from one this championship, build it first. So we'll see what Reddick chooses to do with his gold income. Dark Potato, on the other hand, well, we don't know what he's building yet. Has picked up the energy regen, obviously, as most Celestes will do, but he could obviously go towards a Shatterglass. Looks like it's going to be the turret that is paying for this push here, but I think G2 are going to be there to save the day.
Dingo's there as well, so they should be able to defend this one. Dark Potatoes realized that perhaps they need his aid, perhaps they need a little bit of carbohydrate to get them through this. Redix is knocked very, very low. The knockback from Githian Wall is pretty strong, and Dark Potato will retreat as well. Team Clytia haven't actually taken a huge amount of damage here, and they might be able to get this turret down. Winter Spire's there.
Potato.
There we are. They get the turret. Dark Potato will be able to escape, but there's the level 6. One shot, one kill. Dark Potato just about surviving and will escape with a slither of HP.
And Redix is now back into the fray.
Yeah, John gets taken out. The scout trap slowing him down just enough for Redix to pick him up.
Yeah, that was a nice turnaround, but the turret does go over to Team Clytia. Also, I didn't think about this interaction before, but Rhyme with Kestrel just makes it so much easier to consistently land the poke that you need to with Kestrel. You throw down that Winter Spire, then those Glimmer shots come out. It makes it a lot easier to just land as much poke as physically possible onto G2, as well as the damage that Winter Spire will do itself. By the way, Dark Potato, in that last little skirmish, a core collapse saved his life. Actually stunned up Arden and allowed him the time to get away. So brilliant core collapse from Dark Potato, showing his prowess on this hero.
It's a bit of a back and forth early game. G2 last game had a huge advantage and with a couple of kills up very, very quickly. But here Team Clytia showing they can adapt, showing that they can bring out perhaps more pocket pick type heroes with this Rhyme. And I'm going to be really interested to see how he does build it as well, because he's upgraded the energy battery. Is he going to go for something like an Eve?
Yeah, it looks like Eve of Harvest is going to be his first point of call. He just wants to sustain throughout these engages. John, however, there is that...
There's the Valkyrie, and John goes very low. Dark Potato almost gets taken down. John using all the fortified health he can and will survive for a very long time, but he does get taken out by G2, and they'll settle for one kill.
This is what I mean post 6 about Blackfeather versus Rhyme. You have that Rose offensive. It means you can negotiate your way around Winter Spires, negotiate your way around the stun as well. It's a very useful ability. It means you aren't strictly the type of melee carry that Rhyme is particularly good against. One shot, one kill comes out, but Dingo does block that for
Dingo was his name as he blocked that one, and now Asita and Dark Energy will just back away. The gold mine wasn't taken there by G2. They did have an opportunity, but you always risk the steal with the one shot, one kill. Asita not let yet. 6 does not have that gold.
Heart drop stacks.
Have the heart drop stacks. He's attracting Asita towards his blade. It's a good route onto Dark Energy, but the active camo will keep him alive, and now they have to back away. Redix needs to be a little bit cautious. Energy is low on exactly his energy, and should be able to survive just for now. Asita's going to jump back in. Dingo will pop the boots to get away. Yep. And it's all fair in love and war as both these teams back away.
So Dark Potato not going to go for a Shatterglass. Looks like he's going towards a Broken Myth, like we would expect most Celestes to pick up. But because of that small engage, they are going to be capitalizing Team Clytia with this gold mine, and they'll pick an immense payout here. So that's a really nice bit of extra gold to go in their back pockets. It puts them back into the gold lead. And also, looks like we will potentially see a breaking point for Redix. I'll have to see where he chooses to build from here. He has, interestingly enough, already picked up some armor. That's what I wanted to point out before I went to the items. He has picked up some armor and the Shiver Steel. So basically saying, I'm going to ignore Rhyme, looking for the Kestrel.
Most definitely. Asita is looking for his turret, but he won't be able to get there. Tries to keep himself alive with Fountain. He will get taken out, and that's another kill for G2. They gave up the gold mine a little bit earlier, perhaps a bit of macro misplay by them.
Wow.
It's a very good route, as you say. Not many places you could go with that active camo, but he spots him out. There's the reflex block. The Solar Storm comes out. There is a one-shot, one-kill onto Dark Potato. Oh, Rhyme has a gorgeous position.
Wow.
This is great for Rhyme. Vainglory comes down, but they will survive. Not quite able to pick him up. They were grouped so perfectly for him, though.
Yeah, it was very close there. Rhyme almost making a 1 versus 3 play for Team Clytia, but G2 are well on top of that, and they're now definitely recovering after potentially taking a huge ultimate from Rhyme, which maybe could have cleared them up and swung things back into Team Clytia's favor. Clytia actually maintained that gold lead because of the mine that they picked up, but it feels like G2 definitely have the driving force in the game right now, and especially now post-6, Redix is starting to ramp up. He will be able to avoid the majority of Rhyme's anti-melee capabilities and try and deal with Dark Energy as quickly as possible.
Redix goes low to the Glimmer shots here. Githian Wall has been popped. Asita is 6 though, and has that Gauntlet. They're going to go for the engage here. You can sense it. Gauntlet's pop. John is round at the corner, and here they go. Are they going to be able to take the fight? The Winter Spire comes out. One shot, one kill. Will not connect. It misses everyone, but Redix is missing from the fold as he gets taken out, and Team Clytia pick up their 2nd kill of the game.
Dingo didn't use his fountain there, which I find incredibly odd, especially when the Gauntlet went down. You could see that Asita did use his, and that actually provided a good amount of health regen and kept Team Clytia in that team fight and eventually managed to give them that small edge that they picked up. Looks like Team Clytia are going to try and capitalize by taking away the camp. They're going to go for the gold mine once more. That would have built up potentially around 100 to 200 gold at this point in time, so a decent payout is going to be picked up by Team Clytia now. What can G2 do at this point in time? It feels like they're just a little bit uncoordinated. The breaking point is there for Redix now, though.
And the Broken Myth on Dark Potato.
Yes, the Broken Myth is there for Dark Potato, so they do have some item spikes that they can utilize. It is the Shiver Steel breaking point. Redix is going to start to really hurt on his target, and that Broken Myth is going to start to be wailing down. When it comes to poke, obviously Celeste is favored over Rhyme, and potentially if she can poke Rhyme out before he gets the opportunity to get into melee range, then obviously Rhyme, as you know, he is a melee hero, he will be suspect to taking a lot of damage from Celeste.
But one of the great things about Rhyme is, although he's crystal power and although he's melee, he is so darn tanky with that fortified health.
And this is what makes the Eve of Harvest a really good item on him. It synergizes so well with all the fortified health that he can build up because he can just regen while protecting his real health value.
I think Alternating Current is actually a really good build on Rhyme, but enough about that for now because that's not what they're going for here. Going to try and get the engage onto Redix. Clytia Wall! 3-man route! This is the turnaround for G2. It's the turnaround they needed. They get the Solar Storm. Dark Energy still alive, though.
Pop your fountain, Dingo. What are you doing, buddy?
Why would you pop a fountain when you can win without it? Do it for the style points, and Redix is trying to style all over Dark Energy, but Dark Energy might have the last
There's the fountain. There's
in the wrong
fountain.
direction. The fountain comes out, as you say, and John is just trying to survive. He's just trying to get out with his life.
I had my heart on edge right there as they landed through. I mean, that was beautiful play by Dingo regardless, by the way. He obviously managed to pick up a 3-man stun into a 3-man root, which comboed so well with Supernovas and also Core Collapse. John just...
This is what I'm talking about, fortified health. Look at him. He's 1v2ing with the Winter Spire.
Here we go here. I mean, I think this is just after. Yeah. At this point, I would have been like, pop your fountain. But no, he didn't manage to hold it on. And he knows better than me when to pop it. They're just me getting a little bit overeager. And then eventually when Redix was really in danger, the fountain comes out and manages to save him. John finally...
He's going to get Redix.
Oh my word. He might even take out Dingo.
No, Dingo's got the poke, man. You can't beat the Lance poke.
There we go.
Roll into poke. He's playing the captain commando of the team, but he does give up the life of his CP carry.
Because they spent all that time dealing with Rhyme, obviously that just gave the opportunity for the rest of Team Clytia to try and focus down and catch out Dark Potatoes. So I've got to say, this Rhyme really having an impact in this game so far. Team Clytia definitely seem to know what they're doing in that respect. And obviously Redix just had a really tough time dealing with the fortified health and the regen from the Eve of Harvest. That's what I mean about how well the Eve of Harvest synergizes. As I say, talking about synergy,
Redix is trying to sit on Dark Energy here, but Dingo is very low. There is the fountain to keep Dingo alive, and they do manage to get the Githian Wall as well. Asita trying to retreat, but he'll get impaled, and Asita should fall down. Solar Storm not quite connecting, but there's the on point, and Redix picks up the kill. It's 8 for 4 in favor of G2.
But they're still behind on gold because they haven't yet picked up a gold mine. So G2, well, a lot of work to do now. It's
all right, John's got this. He's playing Rhyme.
He's playing Rhyme. He's got Eve of Harvest. He's going towards Broken Myth. He's going to start to do some serious damage, and that fortified health is going to be so difficult to deal with. I think you really need Dark Potato in this situation to deal with someone like Rhyme. Gonna go for the gold mine here.
Rhyme is just around the corner, and we did see the one-shot, one-kill coming out as well, so we know that that Kestrel is alive. Goldmine down to about half his HP. John is going to try and push in onto this one. Dingo does have the Githian wall. There is the Winter Spire onto the Goldmine. Can he steal it away? No, he can't. It gets taken down by Redix, but the fight will begin. Asita trying to get in position for his blood for blood onto Dingo. Will be slowed up by John in just a second if he pops down that Winter Spire.
Nice
a good stun. Was really, really good core collapse. Dingo goes low, but he combat rolls his way away. The Winter Spire comes out, and Redix now not in a good position. They're going to keep diving on this. They need to be careful because there are two turrets there. John has gone low. Will he be able to survive? No, he won't. A good stun onto Dingo will not be enough, but can he turn it around? Dark Energy Solar Storm comes out. Look at how low Redix is. Look at how low Dingo is. Not quite the glimmer shot he wanted, as it just misses off towards the side. Dark Potato has no energy, but Dark Energy has less. Can they fight?
Look at Redix. He's saying, no one will suspect me going, he stepped on a scout trap. They know he's there.
One shot, one kill is available, but they need to be careful from the other side. They're going to go for Asita. No! The gauntlet! Asita!
No!
Asita!
That's going to be going in his book of plays that he never wants to watch again. But like he said, one shot, one kill was potentially, maybe they could have tried to snipe him out there. I think what Redix was either trying to do was go into a position to back that no one would have suspected, or try and take away some back camps, because no one would have thought. I mean, I'm just saying this Dark Energy is just getting deleted here.
Absolutely melted. Shiver Steel, Serpent's Mask, Breaking Point, all completed on Redix.
Serpent's Mask is there now for Redix. That's a really nice item spec, especially against the Rhyme. You're going to need that kind of sustain, I think. The shields from On Point just doing huge work here for Redix.
Yeah. Let's have a look across the items that Scoundrel. Atlas Pauldron picked up on Dingo, got Shiver Steel on Asita. Tell me what the important pickups are here.
So obviously Eve of Harvest really good for Dark Potato to try and sustain versus the threat of Rhyme and Kestrel. I like that as a second item choice. It looks like Atlas Pauldrons obviously tried to deal with... Oh, we're going to go again. Engage, just as I want to talk.
The Kraken is there, but John, of course, is that Rhyme. Can be very tanky with Fortified Health. He does get taken out. Dark Potato takes some damage, but it's 3v1 here onto Asita. The Kraken still being captured here, still being unleashed by G2. One shot, one kill does come out. Asita goes very low, will survive. Redix as he jumps in. The Kraken is about to go down. Dark Potato picks it up. They are unbeatable, and Redix is going to chase onto Dark Energy here as well. Has one Rose Offensive up if he wants to go in. He jumps in. A good reflex block by Dark Energy will help him pick up the kill, but the Solar Storm from downtown, and G2 pick up the X.
Yeah, that was Dark Potato lining that up incredibly nicely. I'm just going to finish up on the items here. Atlas Pauldrons and Shiver Steel for Dingo, by the way. They're really trying to slow down either a threat from Rhyme getting into position, or they're trying to slow down Kestrel, who may be looking to escape on the backline. I imagine you either using that to peel for Dark Potato, just allow him to peel backwards. I imagine why a Frostburn might be pretty good in this situation for Dark Potato as well. Asita just going to get taken out.
Core collapse into Githian wall.
Celeste is just so good versus Rhyme. You pick Rhyme here potentially because you're worried about the Lance Blackfeather, but you know, Rhyme is just not good against someone like Celeste, who doesn't get anywhere near enough for you to have effect with your abilities. You know, Rhyme is basically, sometimes you pick to deal with a full melee composition. I just don't think he particularly works when you're running a big late game damage threat like a Celeste.
Definitely not. Of course, G2, if they win this, they go through to our semi-finals tomorrow. Some incredible Vainglory action already on display today. Can only expect it to be better tomorrow, and I hope it is, because it's been nail-biting stuff all day today.
So let's go Asita. I'm just touching on the support items. He's also got a Shiver Steel with a Warhorn, essentially saying, I need to slow down Celeste to allow Rhyme to get into position. You can see Rhyme's picked up his tier 3 boots. Yeah. It's all about positioning now for John. He wants to get close enough to deal damage to Celeste, and then obviously Asita is going to be looking to lock him up with the Gauntlet or with that Shiver Steel. Redix going very aggressive here. Rose Offensive comes out.
Jumps in onto Dark Energy. There's the Gauntlet. It's going to lock all three of them in there. There's a stun on Dark Potato, and this is great positioning for Team Clytia. Dark Potato goes down, and now Redix the target. Can Dark Energy do it with the rest of his squad? They can. G2 on the back foot once more as Team Clytia clean up a couple of kills. One shot, one kill won't hit, but it's 7-14. They're gonna make it 8-14. They're gonna take the ace, and they're gonna take the team fight, as now they can push toward the G2 base.
I think Redix made a huge mistake there. You saw exactly what an Arden can do with a Rhyme, especially when Dark Potato gets locked in that gauntlet right there. It meant that he had nowhere to escape, and as soon as Rhyme gets into position to deal with Celeste, she is such an immobile carry that he can just deal. Let me look at here.
That's the Valkyrie
the Valkyrie stun was
huge.
huge. The thing is, he can't escape. He's stuck there in the gauntlet. He was waiting to try and exit. I think the he used the reflex block to try and escape the gauntlet, but didn't block the Valkyrie stun, and it just meant that he was easily taken down. I didn't see the Frostburn. That's exactly what I think I wanted to see coming out from Dark Potato, because it's all about keeping himself safe away from the threat of a gauntlet or Rhyme getting close enough to use the abilities. I don't think they're going to make that mistake again. Dark Potato knows that he can't get locked up by either Arden with his Shiver Steel and Gauntlet, and he can't get close enough to Rhyme for Rhyme to have an impact with his abilities. If he does, it's game over for G2.
It definitely is. Winter Spire will come out. Team Clytia positioning around the Kraken, seeing what they can do. One shot, one kill on Dark Potato. That's huge. That is absolutely massive, because now they can look for the engage. They've got the Warhorn. They can try and jump in here. They've got the Gauntlet. Have they got the fight? That's the question. They're going to see what they can do. They're going to see if they can get in. Redix is going to get locked up. He's stunned. Dingo there as well. But Dark Potato is outside that circle. The Valkyrie comes down. They picked up one. What can they do here? Asita goes very low. Pops the fountain in the last moment. He survives the core collapse. Redix still alive. Dark Energy trying to take out Dark Potato, which she will. And now Redix on the back foot as Team Clytia win fight after fight. Can Redix make the plays? He tries to duck and dodge around. He will survive for just now. And now he tries to get away towards the back line. Rose offensive is used across two members of Team Clytia. Glimmer shot, shot, one kill, not gonna connect. But John is chasing him down. The on point slows him down. Now G2 definitely trying to retreat.
Glimmer shot,
8 seconds before he's back up. Glimmer shot will be available, but the on point slows them down. Redix still retreating, another on point. Can he survive?
Oh, the boots! The boots!
He's running away. Lance is back alive. Dark Potato's almost alive. Redix on point. He dodges away with the Rose offensive. Everyone has respawned after this fight finish. Redix gets taken down, but there's no ace. He did his job.
He did his job.
The game.
He did his job. He thought he was going to escape. He thought, oh, they'll never suspect that I'll back in this brush. Maybe they think I'm looping around. And unfortunately, that small delay potentially cost him. I think Kestra was going to cut him off regardless. Can Celeste and Dingo stop this Kraken, though? Can they get into a position to stop this? I think Dark Energy turning up is going to be very difficult. There we go. There's the most defensive.
So many dodges. Those on points were amazing.
Yeah, that shield is very, very good. Nice dodge of the one shot, one kill. And then obviously slows with that on point, starts to get the shield up, and he's just running away at this point.
Kraken has been taken here for Team Clytia. Solar Storm was used by Dark Potato, but he wasn't able to steal it away. The gold is almost perfectly even, but Clytia have the Kraken.
Clytia have the Kraken, and they have a lot of sieging potential with this Rhyme and this Kestrel. They can definitely take turrets if they need to. I think despite that really one whiffed gauntlet we've seen from Asita, he's been doing a really good job of either making sure Celeste can't be in position to deal damage or isolating Dingo and Redix. There's the one shot, one kill. Dingo soaks it up. Asita is the target now.
That he is. He does have the gauntlet up. They're going to try and pop the Winter Spires. Asita's already down to half health. He gets stunned. Asita's down. Asita is dead. They're going to go for it. John, Dingo trying to get onto Dark Energy, and John is dead as well. It's only Dark Energy left alive. They'll get one turret with the Kraken, but G2 coming back into this game after it looked like they were dead and gone.
Well, not so completely deading on, because if they can do exactly what they did there, which is just allow Celeste to poke before Team Clytia find an opening to engage, then they're going to be in a really solid position, because obviously against both Arden and Rhyme, Celeste will shine. Literally, Solar Storm shine, because she can just poke them before those kind of things happen. If they go into the jungle, they give a good opportunity to use lack of vision or choke points, and Arden can come out with the gauntlet, lock up Celeste, or at least isolate Celeste away from the rest of the team fight. That is where G2 are going to struggle. Go into an open scenario where they can kite backwards, they don't commit to an engagement, and give Celeste the time to use her Heliogenesis to poke. G2 are laughing. That's the situation that they want. So Team Clytia, I think, have to try and utilize more engages in the jungle, and you can see G2, they're just busy taking away these jungle camps. If Team Clytia Clytia can find and engage in their own jungle out of the blue using lack of vision, then they might be in a good situation.
Gold really isn't that important at this point, so the camps don't matter. There's the gauntlet, it's going to lock up a couple. John is trying to get into the middle of the G2 team. Dark Energy putting a lot of damage down, but Dark Potato's still alive as well.
Good Solar Storm, good Solar Storm.
Absolutely superb. Valkyrie comes out though, and Dark Energy's still alive. Clytia might be able to back away from this one. Dingo jumps back in with an Impale. He might go down to the one-shot, one kill.
Oh, the fountain as well.
That was so darn close, but he survives with the fountain, as you say. John now takes the Heliogenesis to the base. John will go down. He's the sacrificial lamb here for Team Clytia, but Redix is gonna keep chasing. Tries to get the on-point down. A good stun there by Dark Energy will keep him alive for now, but he's gonna jump on into it. There's no Faint of Heart member here from G2 as they jump back in. He goes very low with that Glimmer shot. Redix is being a thorn in the side of Team Clytia at the moment.
How many times have we seen Lances this tournament try and combat roll over the wall and fail it? Actually, something that I want to point out is why I think the itemization is very good from Dark Potato. Rhyme is so immobile, so if you're just starting to hit Heliogenesis on him with that Frostburn, he's going to be such an easy target to take out, and that's what I really like there. Also, really key thing to note is that the core collapse absolutely saved that fight for them. Obviously, Dark Potato managed to get out of the gauntlet with her reflex block, keeping her safe on the outside, but it did mean that core collapse essentially gave her time to deal huge amounts of damage to the two most threatening members to her, and she was in a safe enough position because obviously Arden cannot exit the gauntlet or it collapses, so he's stuck in there with the people that he chooses to lock in. So once Celeste is out, unless Arden chooses to chase down, you know, they're in a position where they can't actually exit the gauntlet, and Kraken now going to get unleashed.
I think one of the big things as well is Team Clytia have such an obvious engage. Every time it's that Arden trying to jump in with the gauntlet and try and stun them, it means that there's such a long period of time in which G2 can just reposition and say, okay, well, we know the gauntlet's going to come out. After that, we just have to avoid John. If we can avoid John, we're fine. We win the fight.
As long as you can keep John far enough away from Celeste, you win the fights, right? Because although Kestrel has gone a pretty damage-heavy build, John is the one that is realistically providing most of a threat to Kestrel, because...
And he's causing the slows onto the Kestrel, which means you can land the Glimmer shots, which means you can land the one-shot, one-kill. Block there by Dark Potato, but this is a good start because Redix has been stunned. Now they're going to try and get the fight. Heliogenesis coming out time and time again. Redix has been stunned up by the Valkyrie. Winter Spire there as well. He will try and Rose offensive through, but he's going to run away. Now Dingo off towards the side. Dark Energy still alive. And it looks like Redix is actually just going to go for the kill. The Kraken's there. He's going for the base. He's going for the crystal. Look at that. Redix making the plays once more. He's dancing his way around this Team Clytia team. Dark Potato goes low, but they don't mind. He goes back in. He gets one kill.
Oh
now
my God. Redix is going to do it.
They're going to take it. G2 are going to take the win here. They're going to take it 2-0. There's no way that Team Clytia get back in time. I don't think.
John's there.
John is there, but it's only a couple. There's the crystal. There's the vein. There's the 2-0 for G2.
G2 repeating their win against Team Clytia beforehand. They look absolutely unstoppable. Definitely two hard-fought victories, though, however. Very, very taken to the wire in that second game right there.
So much credit to Team Clytia.
There was one moment in that last fight where John stopped backing and decided to try and take out Celeste, and that gave Redix all the time that he needed to try and take out those Vein Crystal turrets and then eventually take out the Vein Crystal as well. It was ridiculously good decision-making from Redix right at the end there. He said, just buy me time, kite them with that Frostburn, use Celeste, make her a target, and I will win with Kraken. And he did. Brilliant, brilliant play right at the end, and G2's decision-making has always been one of the highlights of their team, and exemplified with that last-minute decision-making to win the game.
So much credit to G2 through that entire series, because Team Clytia have been their foil. They've been the ones that beat them over and over again, even just across the qualifiers, across this tournament. But here, they showed up, they showed their mettle, they showed why they are ranked one of the top teams here in EU. And Redix, time after time, was just dodging and ducking around. This is the final fight.
This is the final fight, so a really nice block from Dark Potato, as you can see. Redix actually buys a lot of time for Dark Potato because he becomes the target. I think he actually rose offenses over these guys and then starts to back away. People think, oh, he's just going to back here. He's not going to get back involved in the fight. But the Kraken has already moved through and has started taking the turrets. And he says, okay, they've literally ignored me. Now look at John. He's backing, and then he stops. And that essentially seals the game here for G2. And just honestly, brilliant play from Redix right at the end there. And actually, I think we have an interview on stage. So I'm going to hand it over to Action Jackson. He's going to get all of the info from the team itself.
Thank you very much, Excoundrel. I'm here with Redix from G2. They just won 2-0 against the team that took them down yesterday. Actually, you lost against Clytia in the qualifiers as well, so how does it feel finally managing to take the win?
Well, we feel way better now because we know that we can beat them, and that means basically that we can beat every team that beats us if we train hard enough.
All right, that's a good answer. So you picked Jungle Celeste in that second game. What was the motivation behind that very unusual pick?
Yeah, we know that Rhyme is pretty strong against Blackfeather, and also Kestrel is strong against Blackfeather. So we need to let Celeste farm, and that's why we took her in the jungle, because she has a better chance against Rhyme than Blackfeather.
Okay, very cool adaptation coming out from you guys. Now, you're moving forward into the semifinals. Are you looking forward to your games? How do you feel going across into the game day 3?
Yeah, we feel pretty motivated because we won now, and we finally reached again the point where we were last live finals, and yeah, we hope that we can make it tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, G2 put up an incredible performance just now. That was our final series of the day. But tomorrow we're going to be back with the semifinals and the grand finals to get their closing thoughts. Let's hand it back to the analysts, Forecourt Jester, and the crew.
So a roller coaster of a second match, but G2 coming in strong in game number 1. And, you know, early on, Rome, I got to say, their early game was looking pretty solid. It was looking like a nice 2-0, but then something just snapped. Aces, Kraken's coming back into this, and it maybe could have went to a game 3 there for a while.
Yeah, actually, great effort coming out of Team Clytia. They really started grouping up towards that mid game, and they were making the plays happen. Especially, you do have that Kestrel that was huge, just letting those skill shots.
Absolutely. Now we've also had a few different highlights from some of these. Kind of like the Wild Goose Chase Memorial, because we've had some pretty interesting chases throughout today.
Yeah, that Redix one, when he was being chased by the Kestrel and the Lance.
There you go.
Yeah, that one was pretty funny, and he actually managed to get away there. And I think that really helped, because I think if he had gone down, you know, they would have been left in a 3v2 situation there, and that would have been a bit sticky. But he was able to get out, which I think was really important, especially at the end as well, where he was able just to dive straight onto the crystals while the other 3 occupied.
And that is something that we have seen before here as well. I believe it was over in the NA. We had a backdoor Blackfeather. Action Jackson kind of got to cast that one. He did the interviews here for us this round. But, you know, when it comes down to that, like, life or death situation, abandoning the fight, going to the crystal, especially with the Kraken at your back, looked like it was the winning strategy.
Well, it's actually very hard for them at that moment, because you do have Blackfeather that was up. You had Celeste, who was at full health, and pretty much baited out the entire team fight, drawing it more towards the middle of the map.
Yeah, they really tried to just kind of stop the aggression right here with this replay. And look at Redix. He just goes off to the left, says, okay, I'm just going to go for it. I mean, there's a Kraken pushing down. They took them forever to deal with Lance, and all that Lance and Celeste had to do at that point is just make sure that nobody could go home. If you can't go home, you can't defend, then it's going to be a win. And, well, G2, they're able to rewrite history a little bit. They do get themselves a 2-0. Wasn't quite the easy game that it was in game number 1, but hey, man, they did it. They're moving on. Clytia, a top 8 team, getting into the 5th, 6th slot. It's not too shabby at all.
Yeah, it's not going to be quite the Cinderella story that we saw in Autumn, where Team Secret entered as, you know, one of the lower seeds. But, you know, I think nonetheless there was a good effort coming out from them, and they really did push G2 to their very limits.
Yeah, absolutely. So no Cinderella stories, no dark horses here. The Titans will still reign supreme. We have our top 4 now ready to go tomorrow, because tomorrow will be our semis, and then, of course, our grand finals, where we are having our champion. But here's how it all shook out. Team Secret advanced into the winners. They have not dropped a series yet. Mouse Sports clawing their way back, though. They did win in day 1, lost day 2. They won their decider, and they will be one of our 4 teams here tomorrow for Championship Sunday. And I gotta say, the tenacity of Mouse Sports looked real strong today there, Rum.
Yeah, and this the fact that, you know, you drop a game, you realize your mistakes, and then you make all the adjustments that you need, and then you come back even stronger.
Yeah, they learned very well for it. Now, on the flip side, from the other side of this double elimination bracket, Team Snow made things look good today. I don't think they've actually dropped a series here either. You can see they're going to be the 3rd team to join us tomorrow morning. And they won out against Team Clytia, actually put Team Clytia into the situation where they had to go up against G2 again, but this one lightly. They 2-0, and they will be our 4th team now for tomorrow. So, Shinyi, again, the tenacity of the